Hi, I'm Vrinda. In an election, we look at the politics of language. We engage with it, but hardly do we look at language in terms of its role as a communicative tool of politics. Why are we not talking about language at this time? At this point in our electoral process, when the diversity of languages in our country is brought to the fore like none other. When leaders from the north go to the south, think of the patient audiences in those rallies who spend double the time sitting through these addresses, listen to the entire speeches via translators, and yet continue to cheer for their leaders. It would have done us all some good if leaders from the south came to the northern states and with the help of translators taught the Hindi hinterland some political and linguistic patience and gave them some idea of what the political flavor and fervor in the south looks like. Because if you think about it, it's a mystery as to why leaders with mass popularity in the south hardly ever stepped into political campaigning in the north. A leader from the north has access to the minds and lives of the voters in Tamil Nadu or Telangana or Kerala. But people like Stalin, Siddaramaiah, Pinarayi Vijayan or Jagan Mohan Reddy don't come to campaign in Uttar Pradesh or Bihar. They're also part of the India alliance, but you won't see them speaking in Lucknow or Patna the way they will in the south or the way leaders from the north will do in those same southern states. The facility of translators is available to all and is available in northern India as well. It's not as if Hindi-speaking translators can't be arranged for in Araria, but you don't see that happening. The linguistic diversity of our country shines through beautifully in an exercise as large as the general elections. But it is pertinent to pay attention to these details too. Today in Vox Vrinda, we will look at this interaction between different languages and how leaders and translators wade through the sparkly waters of linguistic diversity. Owing to my own linguistic limitations, this episode will focus on Hindi-speaking politicians only. What you see on a news channel or see getting reported in the newspaper is often just a small portion of the speaker's address. This is what we call a bite. But a lot is happening on stage that just gets lost in the process of editing. It also takes away the humanity of the electoral process. These are, after all, real people with everyday common struggles, and language is one field which becomes bumpy for them when they move out of their linguistic zones. When someone is addressing hundreds of people like this, as it is, it is an impediment, since the only feedback you get is by way of the audience's excitement. A dull audience can suck the energy out of a program, but an excited audience can charge up a party's social media for days. The translator doesn't only have to translate the speech of the speaker, but also the tone and tenor, the excitement of the speech. There is the risk of the entire speech falling flat and the whole rally can turn into a flop show. So in a way, the translator becomes the reason for a bilingual rally's success. And it isn't just the translator's interaction with the audience that matters. Very often it is the communication between the speaker and the translator that makes it click. While listening to politicians speaking in the south or in the northeast, we found many instances where the translators found themselves to be caught in a tight spot, but it was the communication between the politician and the translator that helped them work through it. Look at this interaction between Priyanka Gandhi and her translator in Bengaluru. Priyanka was speaking in fairly long sentences which would not have been easy for the translator. But at one point, when the translator seemed to be fumbling in her translation, Priyanka asks her to come and stand next to her on the stage and repeats the sentences for her. The speech went pretty smoothly afterwards.
You want to use that? You want to use one of these? Use this?
No.
Okay. Go ahead. You want me to repeat?
Yes, one line.
मैं कह रही थी कि आपको सुपरमैन की इमेज दिखाई गई, लेकिन मिले आपको महंगाई मैन जिन्होंने सिर्फ आपकी महंगाइयां बढ़ाई.
ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಮುಂದೆ ಸೂಪರ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ತರ ಏನಂತೀನಿ ಬಂದ್ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು, ಆದ್ರೆ ನಿಜಾಂಶ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಸೂಪರ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರ ಬೆಲೆ ಏರಿಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಮೆಹಂಗಾಯಿ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಮುಂದೆ.
Similarly, a few months ago at an event in Kerala, Rahul Gandhi's speech was being translated by a schoolgirl. She got nervous and forgot her lines, but Rahul encouraged her, praised her and summarized his speech for her.
ഡെത്ത് ഓഫ് ഒരു വയസ്സിൽ താഴെയുള്ള കുട്ടികളുടെ മരണത്തിന് കാരണമാകുന്നത്
Don't worry, relax. So we want to help tribal women and make them give birth in institutional places.
സോ ആദിവാസി കുടുംബങ്ങളിലെ സ്ത്രീകൾക്ക് ഹോസ്പിറ്റലുകളിൽ പ്രസവ ശുശ്രൂഷ നടത്താനുള്ള സൗകര്യം ഉണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുക്കുകയാണ് ഈ രണ്ടാമത്തെ പ്രൊജക്റ്റിലൂടെ.
A little encouragement from the speaker can help the translator and the audience a lot. It only shows the audience that the speaker has respect for that linguistic difference and is patient and humble when faced with its challenges. But at times, everything is not so smooth, and it seems that slogans are a particularly difficult passage to get through in a speech. We chanced upon an interaction between Amit Shah and the translator for his speech in Telangana's Bhongi.
तो भाई तुम बोलो क्यों?
మోదీ గారిని మూడవసారి ప్రధానమంత్రిగా చేయాలా వద్దా? అదే విధంగా
The translator seemed unsure as to whether he had to translate the slogan or not, and had to be told by Amit Shah to tell the people to finally now raise their hands.
अरे आप ट्रांसलेशन करो भैया.
నాతో పాటు రెండు చేతుల్ని పైకెత్తండి.
At one point, the translator almost interrupted Amit Shah's sloganeering, but Shah confidently spoke over it. Later on again, Amit Shah had to tell the translator to not translate the names that he had been reading out at the start of his address, and to just skip to the last part where he should tell the people to clap for the candidate.
వెంకటేశ్వర్లు
अरे भाई अंतिम वाक्य ट्रांसलेट कर, जोर से ताली बजाओ.
అందరూ గట్టిగా చెప్పండి, చప్పట్లు కొట్టి బూరా నర్సయ్య గౌడ్ గారి యొక్క అభ్యర్థిత్వాన్ని బలపరచండి.
There are other issues too. Sometimes the translators are slow on the pickup. At times, the translators begin to improvise on their own, or they forget what the speaker had said and then have to ask the speaker to repeat what had been said. They can at times change the impact of the speaker's intent, which often also worries the speaker. Rahul Gandhi himself faced such an experience once, where the translator had a tough time communicating his speech to the audience.
But sometimes being my translator can be a very dangerous job. Like just now in Telangana, in one of the speeches, the translator got into a lot of trouble. I was saying something and then he was saying something else. Then after some time I started counting my words, you know. He was speaking in Telugu, so I said, okay, I said 5 words, and then I would say, okay, maybe what I'm saying in Hindi should take about 5 or 7 words in Telugu, and then he would speak 20, 25, 30 words. Then sometimes I would say something that is quite boring, and the crowd would jump very excited, and then I would say something exciting and the crowd would keep quiet. And at the same time, I cannot get angry, so I have to smile all the time.
Being a translator is not easy. In our job as journalists, we are constantly translating speeches and texts from Hindi to English or vice versa. At times, someone has to work as a bridge between us and translate, say, a Bangla or a Marathi speech into English that we will then translate into Hindi for our show. And so you cannot imagine that the translator is under any less pressure than anybody else, more so when facing crowds of hundreds and are being telecasted live on TV screens across the country. And indeed, there are moments when the speaker gets so impressed with their translator that they praise them on stage and ask them to translate it for the audience as well.
Translating speeches in a situation like this is not an easy task.
ഇതേപോലുള്ള അവസ്ഥയിൽ സ്പീച്ച് തർജ്ജമ ചെയ്യുന്നത് കുറച്ച് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പരിപാടി.
And I think you did a very good job translating.
Thank you, sir.
No, translate.
സോ ഞാൻ ഇത് നന്നായിട്ട് ചെയ്തു എന്ന് ശ്രീ രാഹുൽ ഗാന്ധി സാർ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നു. And I'm so thankful.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And so you see that an election is not merely a political exercise. It also reveals to us the miracle of our diversities, the intricate processes that make our political and social life possible. But while you notice these little beauties, also ask yourself how you interact with these differences. How are you responding to them, and do you see any attempts around you being made to accommodate and bridge them? Till next time, this is Vox Vrinda.